Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We have an awesome interview lined up today with one of the hottest people in the golf content world, mainly on Instagram and TikTok. We have Nick Bonilla of Bev Boys. Now, Nick is known for making hilarious golf skits, whether it's with his wife on the course or more recently collabing with some of the biggest people in the golf content world like Busted Jack or Bevs to Jack, if you saw his reel on Instagram. Now, he gets into his creative process, how he's really handled the scalability of his content over the last 6 months, and he's just an awesome, super humble dude. So it's a great conversation. I hope you enjoy it. If you're new here to the Scratch Golf Show, welcome to the channel. My name is Marco. We mainly focus on interview-style videos with top creators in the golf content space. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button below. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the start of the Masters this April. Like the video and enjoy the interview with Nick today. We have Nick Bonilla from Bev Boys. Nick, thank you for joining the Scratch Golf Show here, man. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to having you on this evening.
Of course, man. I'm excited to be on here. Excited to talk it up. Did you got a sick setup in the background, by the way?
I appreciate it.
Oh, Masters flex. I love that.
Yeah, dude. My dad took me there when I was 20, or when it was 2011, which would have been a long time ago now.
Dream.
But dude, it's cool because like my dad's really my connection to golf. Like my dad got me into the game, and so like he's still like my number one fan. My parents are both my parents and my wife are watch all my videos still. It's like I make content for them, but yeah, dude, it's kind of my connection to him. So yeah, I got that towel when I went with him. I haven't used it or anything since 2011 now, which is just crazy.
That's wild. I love it.
Cool. Anyway, sorry, man. My brain.
My ADD is already kicking in. I'm just like noticing stuff in the background.
No, dude, I have ADHD too, so I completely understand. Anyway, so obviously I'm very familiar with your content, Nick, and for the people who maybe aren't familiar with you, or maybe just clicked on the video by accident, maybe do a brief intro of yourself and kind of how you got into the golf content space.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, who's this guy? Does he play golf?
Bevs to Jack, I've seen him before.
Bevs to Jack, yeah. It's got legs. I'm gonna make sure to. You might have to clip this so I can send it to Mason. But
for sure.
Yeah. So I've been playing golf for going on like 21 years now. I started playing when I was 12. I'm about to be 33 in a few weeks, and I like growing up. Always knew, it feels weird. Like I was just always kind of like the funny guy, like was never like good in school. And so, when social media started becoming like prevalent, I knew I wanted to make content. I just didn't really know where to start. And I would say that I kind of like got the itch for golf back in like 2017. And then, COVID happened and then all my friends started getting into it. And I was like, dude, this is great. And, during COVID, like I was on TikTok a lot and like watching, a bunch of different creators who were like making funny videos. And I remember I used to just lean over to my wife and I'd be like, I was like, oh, I just had like a funny idea for like a TikTok video. And I would like basically tell her what the video was. And she'd be like, oh, that is funny. And then we'd kind of just like sit there and she'd be like, so are you going to like, are you gonna like film it? Or I was like, yeah, no, you're right. Like, cause in my head, the thought of just like one day, just like posting a video on my personal like Instagram page or something like that. And people just being like, what is this?
Yeah,
like,
what's going on?
was probably the main thing that kept me from doing it. I was like, 30 and, was like, that's just like a weird time to start being like, hey, I'm going to be a content creator. Yeah. And so, I told this story. I was watching a episode of Bob Does Sports and it was the one where they went to Callaway to get fitted for clubs.
Yeah.
And I remember just like, I've been playing golf like all my life. And that was the first time that I was like, wow, like the landscape of golf is changing. You no longer have to be really good at golf to do something or make it somewhere in the golf industry. Yeah. Cause I was like, look at these guys. They're, average golfers, but they're entertaining and they're hilarious and they're relatable. And I remember watching it and I was like, I could do something like that. And so I remember like going to all my friends and like pitching this like idea for like a golf channel to them. It felt like I was like trying to sell them something. And, most of them were like, oh, yeah, exactly. And most of them were like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, that would be kind of dope. And then I remember, like I found two buddies of mine who were like, oh, that's cool. Like, we should do it. And, so Bev Boys, originally when it started, Bev is the first letter of the three of our last names. A lot of people think that Bev Boys is short for Beverage Boys, but it's not.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and that's probably the first time that I've, explained the meaning of it too. So anybody that watches this is going to, get a little nugget, but, so then I started the page up and, like just very quickly, I think because like it was my like dream from the get go and stuff like that, I was a lot more invested into it.
Feel that, brother. Yeah.
And, so, I mean, I was doing all the editing, all the posting, stuff like that. And so then like we did like a few things together, like, ordered some like Bev Boys like teas and kind of talked about like different stuff like that. But it was just really hard for us to get out and do content together.
Yeah.
Because we were all married. I had kids. One of the other guys had a kid. And then our other buddy and his wife were pregnant. And so just like getting out to be able to like make this a content thing. Man. Oh, dude, it was so hard. And so eventually I was just like, I feel like I'm already doing like kind of like most of the work anyway. So I was like, I just feel like it's going to be a lot easier if I just kind of run it as a solo thing. Yeah. But I always really loved the name Bev Boys, and I just felt like it just had like a catchy sound to it. And so I just stuck with it. And so, yeah, it is kind of tough sometimes when people are like, oh, like, what's up, you guys? Or like, or it's like, when I was watching the clip when you had Hannah on last week, you're like, oh, Bev Boys, like I love those guys. Yeah. And it's funny because like people will always like, my close friends will come up to me and they'll be like, yeah, Bev Boys, like who are the other secret members? And ironically, I still have people that message me all the time and they're like, hey dude, like are you looking to like add any new members to Bev Boys? And I'm like, nah man, sorry, like just running solo. So that was a very long-winded tangent way of answering your question. So
no, I appreciate it, man. No, I'm super relatable, dude. I started doing this in April of 24, so coming up on a full year. That's how you got into content. Talk to me a little bit. So I think I heard that you talk about that. You started doing it for a while, then you took like almost 6 months off, and then got back into it. I guess, is that accurate? And then why did you take a break? And then I guess why did you decide to come back and kind of give it another chance, or give it kind of that second shot to kind of go full time with the content?
Yeah. So I started it in January of 23. I was on paternity leave. We had just had our second child, and I was off work for 3 months. I was like, I gotta stay productive doing something. And it was also right around the time that I had started doing music again as well, which is funny because like a lot of people who like see the raps on the page, they're like, I'm starting to think this guy actually like used to do music, and I'm like, yeah, I did. I've done music since I was like a senior in high school, like 2010. Yeah. And kind of like the same with that, like took long breaks, and it was a lot harder on the music side because I don't produce, and like I can't really work like Logic when it comes to like recording or editing or doing all that technical stuff. And so I was like kind of limited in it, but I've been rapping and doing stuff like that for years. And so I'm on paternity leave and I start this thing, and very early on I was way more invested in like putting my time into the music than the golf page. Like, the golf thing was just kind of like, oh, if I'm out on the course, like, I'll film a whole vlog or do whatever. And it was kind of like getting my feet wet with making content and editing videos and stuff like that. And then in July of that year, I got like a very small run of like 12 hats made, like 12 Bev Boys hats. Yeah. And we went to a bachelor party that weekend. It was my buddy's bachelor party that I was in. And I sold all like 12 of the hats, and I was like, oh man, I was like, I got to make a clothing brand. Like I got to order more of these things.
Yeah.
And so then I ordered like 50 hats and I sold like 8 of them and had like just a row of hats in my closet. And I was like, oh no, this, and it was like, I was like, it's gonna be a while before I recoup my money from this.
Yeah.
And then in August or September of 23, I went on a boys golf trip with like a ton of my friends and played like some of the worst golf of my life. Like just like think about like those like rounds that you have like just throughout a given week where like you're just like, I hate this game so much. It like, you're just ready to snap. And it was just like 3 days of that. And so after that, and then on top of that, like I had like brought the hats that I had on that trip, and I think I sold like 1, and there was like 20 guys on the trip. And so I was just like really feeling discouraged about that too. Cause I'm like, dude, these hats suck. Like nobody wants these. And yeah, so I came back from that, and I was just like, I was like golf depressed. Like, so I just didn't do anything golf related for like 6 months. And like also living in New Jersey, we were going into like, wintertime. And so it was too cold to really play anyway.
Yeah.
And, basically what happened was, end of January, early February of 24. I remember like looking in my closet one day and like seeing the hats. And, I've always been like that guy in life where like I would start a new project, or I'd find a new hobby or a new like side hustle or something like that. And I would like get really, really amped and really excited on it. And then would like go like full steam ahead for like a few months or whatever. And then it would just kind of like fizzle off or something like that. And,
you're gonna be twins, man.
yeah. And so I just remember like looking at the hats and just like thinking like, man, I haven't touched that page in like 6 months. And, I just really like didn't want to let another like passion project like just fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to like see something through to the end. And, so I sat down with my wife, and cause I remember her asking me too, she's like, if you could make a living doing music or doing the golf page, she's like, which one would you pick? And I was like, the golf page. I was like, it's not even close. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, why? And I was like, because like where golf's at right now is like, you can be bad and just be like funny and relatable. And like, that's kind of enough. But I was like, in music, it's like all about like, oh, I'm so cool, I'm the best, like this and that. And just also the whole music thing was tough because, like I said earlier, I couldn't really do the whole thing by myself. And I wanted to do something where like I can do it from start to finish and I don't really have to rely on anybody else. And so, yeah, in February, I sat down with her and I was like, we agreed, like, I'm going to give this 1 year. And in a year, I was like, I'm going to treat it like a full-time job. I'm going to give it my all. And in a year's time, we'll sit back down. And if it's doing good or it looks like it's trending in the right direction, like, I'll keep doing it. I was like, but if it's not, like, I'll put it down for good because, I'm like 32 and, we got 2 kids and it's like I'm trying to like move up in my career. It's like, I'm not going to have time to keep investing in something if it's not really showing results. And exactly like a year later was the day that I was out at Callaway.
That's awesome, dude.
Getting fitted for the club. So it was
such a good full circle moment for you.
Yeah, it was really dope.
Dude, that's awesome. I bet, dude, so happy that like you gave it kind of that another chance because I can relate so hard to kind of being somebody who gets full steam ahead into a project, and I'm sure my wife will probably tell you the same thing that like, I'll give it 4 or 5 months, and dude, there's been like I was getting to even like with my channel, like I was only at like 250 subscribers, getting closer to the end of the year in December.
Mm-hmm.
It was getting to the point where I was like, man, I'm 7 months in. I had I was nowhere close to where I wanted to be, and then I've doubled it since then, and have and
that's awesome.
Now I'm getting momentum, but it's like, dude, you just got to kind of get through it. And so good for you for keep persevering. That's it's a cool story and a good full circle moment. So now, and obviously now you're doing it full time, which is super cool, which we love to see.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like you've had like a sort of like a meteoric rise, like the last. I think you just hit 50K followers in December, and now you just hit 100K. Here we are, and I guess we're basically into March now. But February, like, how have you like handled the rise of just like your account was here, and now you're just full time, and you've blown up. Like, how have you handled that? And I guess is it something that you found easy to scale, like doing it only by yourself?
Yeah. I posted about this the other day that this time last year I had under 200 followers on Instagram. And so I tell people all the time that when it comes to social media, things can literally change overnight. I feel like I'm kind of like a product of that. I always love though, cause everyone, like 95% of the success and the growth of this page like has come in the past 3 months, but the work of like figuring out how to do content and how to edit content and like the different ideas and stuff like that, had I not had the previous like 8 months before that, like that's kind of what I feel like prepped me to get to that point. But I will say when I started doing it again in February, I was still kind of trying to go the clothing route of trying to push it as a clothing brand. And I was getting like hats made, and I was, got like tees made, and then, got like a small run of like, polos made. Like, dude, I was on Alibaba, like hourly, like talking to like these different manufacturers and like sending them logos and stuff like that. And, I realized very quickly how hard it is to run a clothing business. And dude, hats off, salute to the people in this space right now that are running clothing brands, because it is not easy, and it's a very saturated space. Like every time I got on Instagram, I was seeing like a targeted ad for another kid putting, his logo on polo. And so I think it was in like May that I was like, I'm just gonna start doing content, because it's free, and I don't have to spend any more money. But also like no one really cares about Bev Boys as a clothing brand, and why should they? Because there's a million other clothing brands that do it better. But I was like, I feel like I have a lot better chance of standing out with this as a content creator than I do as a clothing brand. So I immediately pivoted to doing content, and kind of like I told you when we were just chatting earlier about like my brain, I always just like will think of like ideas for videos and stuff like that. Like I was doing it during COVID, and so I knew that it would translate to golf, and so I just started making videos. And it was still very slow progression. I obviously started by like trying to do the same thing as everybody else. I was making like come play a hole with me, or like hole vlogs, or like, shot tracers on like cool shots. And, it was just like, I would spend like an hour and a half, 2 hours editing a video of like a hole vlog, and then get like 4,000 views. And I was like, dude, this is just like, I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm seeing the return for like the amount of time that I'm investing into this. And, so what happened one day was I posted a video of me and my buddy out golfing, and it was actually, we were filming for like a serious kind of like golf project. And, it wasn't like meant to be funny or anything, but we got this one video clip of him like 30 yards off the green, and he hits his shot and just like sculls it over the green. And like the video, it's like the ball's like going like 30 miles per hour past the flag. And you can hear me in the video being like, sit. And, so I remember I clipped it, and I just put a caption over it, and it was like, your second shot after your best drive of the day. And it got like 1 million in like 4 days. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that's when it clicked to me that, because it had like 12,000 shares on it. And I remember just being like, oh my God. And then I was like, the relatability factor is what I really need to hone in on. So from there, I immediately pivoted to like relatability, skits, started to do a lot more like acting skits and things like that. And once I started doing that, it really kind of like started to like pick up momentum and started to grow. But this was like, June, I think. And so from February to June, I think it went from like 170 followers to like 3,000. So I'll never forget, it was October 16th, was when the page hit 3,000 followers. And I remember it being like, such a big deal. And I was like, so pumped about it. But that just kind of goes to show you the progression of how long it took. But but after that, we had our third child, and I did one video with my wife, which she was against, by the way, because she's like, I feel like I've like seen videos like this. And I'm like, yeah, there's videos like a lot of things online, especially golf. Like pretty much all the ideas have been done. You just kind of try and find a new way to like recreate it or deliver it. And we post that video when the boys text you to go golfing.
I love that.
And such that one went absurd.
Insane. Yeah, dude, I love that. That's such a good one.
And so like people always reference, the rap. But that video was kind of the first one that really like went crazy. And then I'll just say this about the rap, and then I'll digress and hand it back to you. But the rap was another thing where I was just like trying to figure out, man, how do I stand out in this content space where there's like a million people doing it? And ever since I started rapping, I always kind of felt like, there's tons of white rappers out there, but I still feel like even in 2025, like when you see a white guy who can rap, you're kind of like, oh, wow. Like it's like still kind of like, I feel like catches your eye in a sense. I
wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And and so I was like, I could write a golf rap. And then I was like, well, if I'm like sticking with the whole relatability factor of it, then like it's got to be about being bad at golf. And I mean, I'm like probably like an 10, 11 handicap right now, but like, I definitely have played my fair share of really bad golf. And so I wrote this rap and was really worried that like if I dropped it, people were gonna be like, dude, this is so cringy, or like, dude, this is so corny. And but I did really like it because I do hold myself to, I feel like, a very high standard when it comes to like writing that stuff. And so I showed my wife, and she was like, you got to release this. And I still was kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Had a buddy from back home. I'm from Virginia originally. And he out of nowhere texted me one night and was like, he's like, you should start doing like golf raps, like just mini golf raps, and just start putting them out. He's like, it'll blow up. And I remember being like, dude, I just wrote one. And I was like on the fence about posting. And I was like, I feel like that's like all the confirmation that I needed.
Yeah.
So me and my buddy Jay, he came over one day and hopped in the whip, went. We got like a park in my neighborhood. And so we parked over there. We filmed it. Came back, I edited it, I uploaded it, and I remember I was so nervous I left my phone upstairs on my nightstand charging, and I went downstairs and I told my wife, I said, all right, I don't want to know how it's doing or anything like that. Let's not talk about it for like an hour. I was like, if it doesn't do well, if it doesn't get like 10,000 views, I'm going to delete it, because I would view that as kind of like a flop. And like 2 minutes later, she's like, when can we start talking about the video? And I was like, dude, in like an hour, what are you talking about? And she was like, I want to talk to you about all the comments. And I was like, what do you mean all the comments? It had been like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And she was like, there's already like 40 comments on it. And I was like doing the math in my head, because I had a few skit videos that had gone viral up to this point, like, 3 million, 2 million, and so I was like 40 comments already. I was like doing the math in my head. And I ran back upstairs and grabbed my phone, and it was already at like 11 or 12K. And I was like, that's when I knew. I immediately pinned it to the profile. And that video was really what changed everything, because I mean, I had some skits that had gone viral, but the rap was what got like the golf space like I guess got like their attention or got them to notice. So since then, it's the momentum has just kind of like continued to carry on and roll over. And I mean, I'm probably just as shocked by it as everybody else, but I feel like I've kind of found my voice with kind of like this page and what I want it to look like and how I want it to be. And for some reason, people stick around and watch it. And I mean, there's times where I'm like, is this even a golf page? I mean, there's like no golf being played on it, but I kind of feel like people like it for that because there's so many other golf pages that just do golf. So I don't know. Yeah, that is, but it's been crazy. It's been very hard to adjust to because it just keeps getting bigger. And, but I love it because it's like, this is what I asked for. This is what I always dreamed of doing. And I'm like doing what I love. I can't really ask for much more.
Attest to the good work you do. Like you said, man, like people don't realize like the grind from like, to get to like, people are just like, oh, it's overnight. Like, no, there's so much work that leads up to kind of getting to like the, you know, like you said, that one point where it's like the last 3-4 months of now, like just a stacking up of the last 10, 11 months. And I love what you said, like the relatability of everything. Like, I feel like that's what makes your content so great is like, not only it's everything you do, because like I said, the thing that I love, I think some of your best content is the stuff you do with your wife, because for me, that's how I relate to, you know, your content, you know, for you being your age. But I'm sure there's other people who relate to you doing, you know, like you said, like a bad golf shot and someone who's like, you know, or you hit your best shot of the day and you played a wedge over the green, like that's relatable too. So I love that like that process of it. I love that you like, you realize that you have an opportunity and you just kind of taking a leap of faith and bet on yourself. And I think that is so cool. And I love that you remember like the exact days, because I have that same moment of like the day I hit 500 subscribers, the day I hit 6, like that stuff is super cool.
It's important.
Yeah, it is. And it's like it's just like you gotta the little wins, because even if it's not monetary, like it's still, you're still doing stuff and you're still accomplishing something. And I think people need to realize that. And I also love like you have your lane, like you have like raps, you have stuff you do with your wife, you have like now you're starting to see more collabs you're doing with like the Busted Jack and the Bevsted Jack. Dude, that was so funny. I'm curious like your process, like when you like, so I guess when you're pitching that to them, like, are you writing that before you even ask to like do a collab with Busted Jack, and you're like, or are you asking and then thinking of an idea and running it by them? How does that work? Kind of when you're doing like a process of coming up with a skit or a sketch.
So I never know what it is either. Is it skit? Is it sketch? I don't know. I should probably figure it out. I feel like sketch sounds cooler. I should probably start calling them sketches. But then it sounds too much like sketchers to me, which like aren't cool. So my process, like when it comes to just doing my videos, I have a note in my phone and I have like 40, 50 different ideas written down, and I have them like categorized by like, you know, these are ideas that I have that are kind of like solo, like I can get them on my own. You know, these are ones with my wife. You know, these are, you know, I'll have like beats for raps in there, or like ideas or lines that I want to put in a rap. And then I'll have like just, you know, these are ideas that I need like 2 or 3 people to do, more like a group thing like that. The Busted Jack thing, Mason followed me a few months ago, and I remember reaching out to him and sending him a message, and I was just like, hey man, like really appreciate the follow, like big fan. And he came back and he was like, oh dude, he's like, I'm a big fan of your content. He's like, me and my wife watch your videos all the time. And I remember just being like, awesome. Dude, that is so cool. And then just recently I saw him when I was out in Arizona for Waste Management, the night of the Good Desert Open, when they were walking to the next hole. He was like walking by kind of like, you know, shaking people's hands and stuff. And I like made some comment to him, and he saw me and he was like, dude. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, dude, he's like, it's good to finally meet you. And then I saw him as he was leaving too, and we were just like chatting for a minute. And he was like, dude, he's like, do you want to like come play tomorrow? We're going to play. And I was like, dude, yeah. And so within that 12 hours, I'm just like thinking like, because he was down to do skits, which I'm like, yeah, thank God. Cause I especially somebody like that, I would never just be like, you guys want to do some skits? Like,
right.
And they're like, what? Unless they were like sketch type people. But he was down. He's like, dude, think of some ideas and bring them tomorrow. And I was like, dude, done. So I was back at the Airbnb that night, and I'm like just writing down. And I think that like kind of based off of my character, just kind of like the vibe of the page, I think it's funny to kind of like play into this, like, up and coming creator, his like big fan of, this page. And it's kind of like, oh, so like, are you guys like looking for any additional members, or like, which is kind of funny because I actually have people that like message me and ask me like, hey, you looking to add any more boys to the group? And but yeah, so then like Bevs to Jack just came to my head, and I was just like, dude, that's so funny. I was like, I got to do it. And they were great. Like they in the sketch were like acted so well to the point where it's like you would have believed that it was serious. And so they were great. And then God, who else have I done some collabs with lately? I'm like blanking.
St. Andre, you're still with Hannah for 100K.
I did, yeah.
And
dude,
Sonny, you're still with Sonny also.
Sonny, yeah. Sonny was like an OG when it came to like somebody that followed me early on, and I was like so pumped about. And we got to do one at the PGA show, and he's actually so I'm going to Pinehurst.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. I recorded with
Sunday.
Him last night. Yeah.
And so it's me, him, and Aaron
Andre.
and the crew. And dude, I'm so pumped. And
that's awesome.
St. Andre, I mean, they're the gold standard right now in golf when it comes to sketch videos. And so they're like somebody that I've been watching for a while, and like have been big fans of them. Their execution, their production, everything that they do is just so top tier. And so I'm excited to do some stuff with them. But yeah, my creative process is kind of just like, I mean, you and I were talking about like, having ADHD and just kind of like your brain is just always all over the place.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'll just get ideas in my head and I'll just write them down. And my wife is also very creative, and she's very funny, and like we have the same personality. So especially the ones that we do together are my favorite, because I'll like tell her an idea that I have for a video, and she's like, oh, that'd be funny. She's like, and then like, what if we added this? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. Like the trying to explain YouTube golf to my wife, the most recent one that I just put out, I told her that in the beginning I was like, I'll have like a video of like Garrett and Grant on, and then you'll say something about like, oh, is this like the guys that you just filmed with? Like, and I forgot what I said that she would say, like calling them the wrong name. And she's like, I thought it'd be funny if like, she's like, oh, is this the guys you just filmed with, Cracker Jack? And I was like, yeah, that's so much funnier than what I had. We're going to go with that. So
that's awesome.
I love when she's a part of it too. And that's actually what I get when people like see me that recognize me. I'd say probably like 5-10% of the time do people ever come up to me and say like, oh dude, I love the raps. They always come up to me and they're like, dude, the videos with your wife are my favorite. I love those ones.
They're so good.
I agree. I think those ones are like the most relatable. And I mainly just like do the raps because I know that I have a whole other side of the fan base that like I only get interactions and engagement from when I do the raps. So I'm like, all right, like we'll do a rap.
Yeah. So a video that I really love, because speaking of, I was actually in Arizona at the Good event.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, and so I wish we would have been able to link up while I was there. But like, so you did the good the sketch with at grass clippings where you you were collecting are you trying to like get some did you have that idea, something like that, like written beforehand? You're like, this is a hot topic right now, like the good event, like the Desert Open, like this week is hot, like let me turn around and get this out very quickly, like you know what I'm talking about, I guess. Does that make sense?
No, it does. I actually kind of hate that video now when I watch it. Like I can't even watch it now just because that's one of those videos that like is funny, like a troll or somebody like commented on. I was like, dude, this video is so cringe, and I was like, dude, I kind of agree with you. I thought it was fucking hilarious. It was just I don't know why. I think it's just because like I like personally when I was filming that one, like it felt very rushed, and it wasn't like a planned out thing at all. It literally was just we were out there. Pretty much all of the videos that I got in Arizona, I didn't have like planned or written beforehand. It was just kind of like, I got to post something. And so I'm just like, you know, trying to think and, you know, once again, kind of like with the Bevs to Jack, like playing into like the YouTube golf super fan. I was like, dude, I was like, you know, can you believe we're playing a course that Good just played? And so I just kind of like fed into that, and we just got a few clips, and then I posted it, and then like even like a couple of days later was like the Super Bowl, and so then I did the Patrick Mahomes one when I was out there. Like, so those were all just ones that were off, you know, just kind of off rip. Like when we were out there, and I was just like thinking like, what could I just like knock out real quick, couple quick, you know, shots, and we'll be good. There was actually one video that me and Sonny were trying to get, and it was like it was going to be called Touch Around the Greens, and it was basically about like 20 handicaps or 30 handicaps that like play Pro V1s, and it's like, are you playing a Pro V1? And it's like, yeah, it's like, you know, dude, I like it, you know, for like the, you know, spin around the greens and stuff like that. And then it was just going to be like 5 shots of me like blading one or like, you know, chunking a shot. But the funny thing was I could not like blade a shot over the green that didn't look like believable. Like, it would either be like I'd have to take a full swing. Like, dude, I was hitting some of the best flop shots of my life, and I'm like, dude, I'm here trying to hit bad shots right now, and I'm hitting like friggin' flop shots that are going 12 feet in the air and landing by the hole, and I'm like, why can't I do this when I'm actually trying to play golf? And it made me so mad. Next time you talk to Sonny, you have to ask him about it, because it was really funny. Like, I was just like, dude, this is making me so mad.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was all off rip, and that's kind of like, I like that sometimes because it kind of like puts pressure on me to like kind of stay creative like in the moment, which I like. But some ones are planned out, some ones are just like straight off rip, and I kind of just going with the flow like that.
How consistent are you when posting on? Because I mean, obviously, I think you primarily post on just Instagram and TikTok. Like, how consistent are you? Are you posting every day? Is it 5 times a week? How are you like posting consistently to stay in the algorithm?
Yeah, I try and post every day. That's like, and especially now that I'm full time, like for sure. Today is probably the only day that I foresee, bearing any, you know, super busy schedule or something like that I won't post something. And even if I am traveling or whatever, like I'll find a way. But I think that, you know, you got to keep momentum going, and it's like you can get to burnout. Like, you can very quickly burn yourself out if you're not careful. I just think that, like, for what I'm posting on Instagram and you know, how quick and easy for the most part it is to like film the videos that I'm doing and get them, I have no excuse to not be posting every day. But also just like, it keeps me like sharp, I feel like, and it helps me kind of like stay in the rhythm of like making sure that I'm like setting time aside to like create. But I think that if you want to be a content creator and you know, it's different depending on like what type of content you're posting. Like for you, it's like you're doing podcasts. So it's a lot harder to like, you know, post a video every single day when you're doing 45-minute increments and things like that. But I mean, if you're an Instagram person and you're just posting like golf content, or you're posting like sketches or something like that, I mean, you have really no excuse to not be able to bang out one video a day, or, you know, post a static post. It could be like a meme or something like that, but like, you know, stay consistent, but obviously don't like post something that's terrible quality for the sake of posting. Like, make sure it's good, but that's kind of how I view it.
So how do you like? I was talking to Sonny about this yesterday, and I don't know if I'm depending on when I'm going to release this one then that one. But like, how do you get like, now that you are full time? Like, how do you get paid? Like, do you have an agent and he's booking stuff for you? Are you reaching out to brands yourself and just Instagram DMs? Like, how does that work? And I have some follow ups, but let's talk about that first.
Yeah. So I mean, this is really funny because, I mean, just like a month and a half ago, when I was like getting ready for the PGA show, I was like, in one of my sketch videos, I like made a reference. I was like, acting like I was talking to people at the PGA show. And I was like, yeah, I was like, people keep asking me like how social like media influencers get paid. And I was like, it's obvious, right? And then like was just kind of playing into that. But, yeah, so I just like recently got an agent. But prior to that, I like had so many people, I mean, pretty much since the wrap and as the page continues to grow, like so many people like reaching out and like DMing, wanting to like chat or hop on a call and like talk about collaborations and stuff like that. And this is when I was still at my job and I was like, I don't have like time to like get on all these calls and stuff like that. I was like, cause when I get off work or whatever, like I have to come home and be a dad and be a husband too. So, my agent has helped big time with that. But for me, I had, thankfully quite a few opportunities, between like, my first partnership that I signed that will be starting in a few months with, Long Drink.
Okay. Hell yeah, dude.
Who, St. Andre signed with as well. They passed along my information to Long Drink, and Long Drink, was my first partnership that I signed this time last month.
Nice.
And then I did a 2 video campaign with Top Golf, and then
5 at own.
5 at own, yeah. Well, Top Golf, not 5 iron.
No, I know, but you didn't you also do one with 5 iron?
Yeah, so that one, ironically, was I had like reached out to them and I was like, hey guys, like, it was Valentine's Day. My wife was down to go to 5 iron, which I was like, heck yeah, let's do that. Yeah. And so, I'll be honest, like I was kind of just like not wanting to spend a ton on, this is going to sound bad. I didn't want to spend a ton on like a really fancy, like Valentine's Day dinner because me and my wife, that's just not like what we enjoy doing. Like we would much rather go out and do something. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, like maybe if I reach out to 5 iron and tell them, I'm going to go make content or whatever, like, maybe they'll hook us up with something. And so they comped everything, went there. We got a few videos. I actually have, one that I haven't posted yet that I still have to edit, but, ironically, that video that I got when I was there is a perfect example of a video that I was like, it's all right. Like, I don't think it's gonna, it's just that's how it goes in the Instagram space. Yeah. And of course I post it and now it's like about to hit 1 million views, which dude, I
thought it was so good, man.
It's just ridiculous. And like, actually like looking back on it, like I get it, cause it kind of like ties in a bunch of different aspects of some of my previous videos into it. But yeah, that one is absolutely crushing. It's always the videos that you never think are going to be the best ones that crush. And then the ones that you think are going to be like, oh, this one's going to kill. And then it just flops. But, so that 5 iron thing, that wasn't like, they didn't pay me to make that video. But, I did end up getting a 5 iron membership out of it, which I'm pumped about because I wasn't expecting that. So I was like, heck yeah, I'll take that. So yeah, it's pretty much like, you either get paid like one-off gigs to, do like a post, like promoting a product or something like that, or you get like sponsors through like brand deals. Yeah. Now that I'm full-time, I am like more focused on just like, how do I get like brand partnerships? Like for instance, like, Sonny's got like a deal with like Original Penguin. Yeah. Where like, that's like, a partnership. And so I'm looking for more of that stuff. Although 85% of the money that I've made so far has just kind of been like one-off stuff. Yeah. And then the Pinehurst trip that we're doing next week, the Bridgestone thing that I just got back from, those were all one-offs. Which by the way, I just have to shout out Aaron from St. Andre. He is like done so much for me just in like how many different brands and people he is like plugged me to. Like I can't tell you the amount of people that reach out and they're like, hey man, like I got your info
awesome.
from Aaron from St. Andre. And I remember at the PGA show, he's like, I've been kind of like, recommending you. He's like, whatever my recommendation is worth. And I'm like, it's worth a lot in this space right now, dude. And I was like, I appreciate you so much. Like, I just sent him a text after the Bridgestone thing too. And he's like, dude, like, happy to help. And they're all great people. Aaron's great. Jonathan's great. Hannah's great. I mean, they're just like the nicest people. And I'm like, dude, I can't wait to work with you guys more. Just cause it's cool when you meet people and they're just great people,
Yeah, no, I'd love to have Aaron on. Obviously, I had Hannah on, and I haven't got a hold of Aaron yet, but I've heard Hannah. I mean, obviously talking to Hannah, that he's like one of the nicest and funniest dudes ever. And like, dude,
so funny.
The reason why I love your content, their content, James Lynch. I had James Lynch on as well. Like, I grew up watching stand up and like comedy, and so like I appreciate good comedy, good humor, and good like sketches, and that's why I love like your guys' content so much. And it's super cool that like you are now like, I guess from a fan perspective, like getting to interact with those guys and like have a content trip planned, dude. That's awesome. I'm sure you're gonna have a hell of a time at Pinehurst. I can't wait to see the content. Dude, I wouldn't say I'm pissed. I'd say more jealous. I had Sean Walsh on last week, and he's in Pinehurst this week, and now I'm having you and Sonny on this week, and you guys are going to Pinehurst next week. It's like, man, I've never been, but I want to check it out.
I was watching that episode earlier, the one with you and Sean.
Oh, for real, dude? I appreciate that. That's awesome.
He was he just followed me on Instagram not too long ago. I need to connect with him, maybe get some swing tips from him.
Dude, but, he's the nicest dude ever. Like he was like the first he was the first video I had that went like viral without like me even knowing what I was doing, and like just like like all these people who follow me and like I talk with him. He's just like the nicest dude. Like he'll answer any question I have. I DM him way too much, and I DM him way more than I probably should, just from that perspective. But he's like the nicest dude ever, dude. I love Sean. He's super cool, and I love what he's doing in the content space. He's awesome. And I appreciate you watching that, dude. That to me is like, I'm sure you've had those moments of like holy shit, like that's crazy, but like the fact that you're watching my stuff, like that's crazy to me. Dude, so I appreciate that.
You're killing it, dude. Like the guests that you've like had on your show already, I mean, and it's only gonna continue to grow. I mean, you've had some like really big names in the space on. I feel bad that I'm about to tank it. It's gonna be like, it's like Hannah from St. Andre, Sean Walsh, and then it's like guy that does skits in his living room. Like, who the hell is this guy?
Oh, dude, you got to give yourself more credit. You're like Sean. I tell Sean the same thing. It's like, dude, you are so entertaining. And I guess a question I have, like, it's because it's funny because you mentioned like it a couple times. Like, what is some of your favorite content that you filmed? And that doesn't necessarily have to be the most viral ones, because you've said you're like, oh, I hate that one, but like from my perspective, like I think all your stuff's hilarious. So I'm curious, from like the person who actually makes the skits, like what are some of the favorite ones that you filmed, or maybe some underappreciated ones, or maybe ones that you thought would do better that didn't, or even like ones that you just threw together that went viral.
I'm pulling up my phone right now just because I want to be able to. I don't want to be able to.
No, you're good.
Let's see. The skit that I did with Eric Lottery when we played in Arizona was really, really fun to film. Sometimes, like recently, I'll do skits that like aren't necessarily ones that are just like generic. Like it's like almost like ones that like you have to know the creator to get it. And so like the one that I did with Lot, like you have to know Lot's page and know his content to get that. Or like the one that I did with Sonny. But that one was one of my favorites because I was like so nervous to ask him because he's not a skit guy. And I remember like thinking this, like, a lot of times people will see my content and they'll be like, oh, dude, you're so good at like acting and playing this awkward guy. And I'm like, oh, no, it's really like that sometimes. But we were at grass clippings the night before and we were playing. And I went up to him, I was like, yo, Lot, I was like, so I had this idea for a video if you'd like want to be in it. And he's like, oh, true. He's like, what's the video? And then I like kind of like told him the idea. And he's like, yeah, that's what's up. He's like, that'd be funny. I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, he's like, were you trying to do that like right now? And I was like, we don't even have to, do it. I just probably scrap it. It's stupid idea anyway. And I just remember like walking away and being like, you're such an idiot. Why would you ask him that? Luckily we ended up playing like, and it was like when we were playing that night, like Roger Steele was there, and like so it was just like a lot of guys, and I was just like, yeah, probably it's not the right time. And then 2 days later, it was me, him, Sonny, and his boy Austin out playing. And so I asked him again, and then he was like, "Yo, what if we did this instead?" And I was like, "Oh, that's way better." And so we ended up getting that one. That one was one of my favorites. In terms of like a video that I did that, like, man, I thought it was gonna crush. There's this one that I did a few months ago, and it was like, if I could bet on my friends golfing. And dude, this video, I put so much time into this video. I really think Instagram knows like how much time you spend on a video. And it's like, we're going to make sure that this one doesn't do well, because I was like, dude, this is such a funny like idea. Like I put like, it looked like almost like a PGA Tour. Like I was watching it on my TV. I made this whole edit. I did a voiceover for it. And I remember just like loving the idea, because it was like playing into the fact of like, I'm a terrible bettor, but it was like, but it was like, oh, if I could bet on my friends golfing, my friends stink. And it was like, I put this one clip in there of my buddy who hit a hole in one a few years ago. And this part of it is a true story. He went 8, 8, 9, 8, 1.
Oh my God.
And so like in the video, I'm like, all right, I was like, he just has to get like a bogey or worse on this hole. And like, I cashed the parlay. It should be a lock. He literally just went 8, 8, 9, 8. And so then it's like the voiceover. It's like, oh my God, it's a hole in one. And then on the video, I have a clip of him saying in the camera, like, I literally just went 8, 8, 9, 8, 1. And then it just like pans over to me, and I'm just like just can't believe like I must be like the most cursed bettor in history. I thought that video was going to go crazy, and it flopped. And I remember that's probably still to this day the one that I'm most mad about. Just because of the time that I put into it. I also did one about like when your boy gives you a good read, and it's like I give my buddy a read and he drains the putt, and then I hit him with like the little tip sign, like the little tipping option thing. That one was funny. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a lot of ones that like I get really excited on that, don't end up doing well. But I think that's just like kind of the name of the game. I think it's because you set the expectation so high. And then obviously the OG rap is, I mean, kind of, that's just kind of like
shit slaps, dude. I love how you have the music background too. It makes so much more sense too. I mean, I mean, there's tons on here, but my favorite one's the next one. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I love how no, it's like, dude, I don't know. I guess maybe from my perspective, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like you play the awkward guy so well. Like the character you play in the sketches, like I think it fits you so well. And I think you're hilarious. But I know you do the pod with Rocky also. Talk to me a little bit about that. We'll do some rapid fires, and then we'll get you out of here. Yeah. Nick, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Dude, of course. Rocky's the homie. That is, I will go to bat for him 7 days a week. He is like one of the greatest guys I know. He like will, go out of his way to like help the people he cares about most. But he reached out to me. He found my page in like October. He tells me the story that he found my page. He sent it to his buddies, and he said, yo, I think I had 2,000 followers at the time. He's like, this kid's about to blow up. Like, y'all need to check him out. And I remember he DM'd me and said the same thing. And I remember being like, oh, dude, that's so nice. Like, I remember showing my wife and being like, that's like such a nice thing for this guy to say, like not thinking anything of it. And, and then like 3.5 weeks later was like the rap. And I like remembered what he said, and I went back and I was like, dude. And he was like, I told you. And I was like, how?
That's awesome.
And then a few weeks later, he flew me out to Vegas to do a match with him and his buddies. and I spent like 4 days out there with him, and very quickly realized like, oh, this dude's going to be a close friend. Like we bonded over a lot, and we have like very similar stories, just kind of about like golf content space. And like, just like me, the reason that he got into golf content, a big part of that was because of Bob Does Sports.
Yeah.
He is also good friends with Cold Cuts.
Yeah.
And he tagged Joe in a video of mine like weeks prior. Joe saw it. It was the very first YouTube golf superfan video that I did.
Yeah.
And Joe saw it and thought it was hilarious, like posted it to his story and followed me. And I remember freaking out because I'm like, dude, this is Joey Colcuts. Follow me.
Yeah.
Whereas like now Joe is like, someone I consider like a good friend. Like we text every day. It's all about sports betting.
Yeah, I know. I heard your guys' podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like degenerate gamblers. But he's a great guy. He's probably one of the most humble guys I know. He's like, I'm just a guy. I'm like, no, Joe, I'm just a guy. I was like, you're not just a guy. But so me and Rock, that's my boy, and he's a grinder too. He views content the same way I do, and we started this podcast called the Barely Made Podcast. Funny story that a lot of people don't know. It actually had a different name, and we were ready to like launch it and everything. And then the night before we were going to post it, we found out that it was trademarked by Barstool.
Barstool, right? Yeah.
And so that was fun because we had like paid to have a logo made and had all this stuff already done. We had 2 episodes already done and recorded with that name. So that was fun.
Man.
And it was a big pivot. But no, Rock is the man. I appreciate that dude and all that he's done for me. And, anything I can do in this career to help him out, will more than do because he's good people.
Oh, dude, he's awesome. Like, he followed me like, I think it was Friday of last week where you shared my clip of Hannah. Hannah shared my clip of Hannah. St. Andre shared my clip of that same clip, and then Sean also shared a clip, and Big John, who also shares, like, I had a bunch of people, and, like, so Rock followed me, and, like, I was DMing him a little bit. He's, like, the nicest dude ever. He's like, dude, here's my phone number. Like, if you ever come to Vegas, I'm like, so that's super cool that you guys kind of
awesome.
had. I could totally see how, like, he kind of had, like, he gives off that vibe of, like, I've only interacted with the dude, like, one time, like, a week ago, and I can already tell, like, he's just the super down to earth, like, just an awesome dude. So, are you guys primarily pushing that out on YouTube? Is it more of like just Spotify, like podcast thing? Where can the people find it so we can they can listen?
Yeah, the Apple Podcasts app, you can find it on there. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on YouTube as well if you type in the Barely Made Podcast.
Okay.
We just had Bear Down on. First episode that we posted was with Cold Cuts. We've had Grill Guy, who's not a golf content creator, but he's in the content creator space. He's hilarious. If people don't follow Grill Guy, they need to look him up. And we've had a few different people. We had Ethan from Sunday Swagger.
I just listened to that one on Sunday.
We just did one with Melosi from Good Good.
Oh, hell yeah. I had Melosi on way back in the day.
We're gonna.
He's awesome.
I'm gonna be getting. Oh, we had Sunny on too.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're going to be having a lot more people on soon. That's another thing I'll shout out Rock for, with just how busy I've been with Bev Voice stuff. I was like, hey, man, I can't really offer anything right now other than, like, being on the podcast. And I was like, if you want to, like, take a break, he was like, dude, I'll do it. He's like, I'll edit it. I'll make the clips. I'll do that. So shout out to him again because he's a dad and a husband, so I know he's busy, and that man...
And he's got his own channel, too, and doing his own thing.
He's got his own channel, too. That man has a work ethic like no other, and so shout out to him for grinding and keeping the boat afloat. He's built different.
Love to see it, man. So we'll link the Barely Made podcast. I mainly watch. I consume all my content through YouTube, so I mainly watch the video form of the podcast. But we'll link the Barely Made stuff in the description, guys. Make sure you check it out. Follow Bev Boys. Follow all that. We'll link that in the description. Rapid fires, then we'll let you go, man. I know I've already kept you for far too long, but I appreciate you joining me.
I was just yapping for so long. You're probably like,
good, No, it's all good, man. I love, because the longer ones tend to be more conversational, which is I love to do, because then it just feels like you're talking to one of your friends. Which
yeah.
But rapid fire. Let's start with favorite golfer.
Favorite golfer, Max Homa.
Favorite golf course
That I've played, or just favorite?
Yeah, no, that you've played.
I want to say Bethpage is probably my favorite that I've played. But my trip to Pinehurst for my 30th a few years ago, when I played number 2, and just like being on a golf trip and stuff like that, was my favorite like golf experience. And I'm excited to go back. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, dude. Most prestigious golf course you've played. Might be number 2. I mean, that's a pretty prestigious one.
Yeah, I mean, number 2 or Bethpage. I mean, but probably number 2 just based off of the history. I haven't really played that many like really nice prestigious courses, which that is really why I'm excited that the page is taking off more than anything, because I mean, I had never even played a private golf course until 2024, so
that's sick.
I'm excited for the future.
Favorite creator. Doesn't have to be golf related. Could be any creator.
The Bob to Sports guys. I mean, I mean, I feel like I'm like the store brand Bobby Fairways. So yeah. So, and he's just so funny, dude. So yeah, Bob, Joe, Perez, like those guys, dude. Even freaking Ticket and Jet are like freaking hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah, they got something special going on over there. People keep commenting on my post, being like, "Dude, when's the collab coming?" And I'm like, when is it coming? I don't know.
Let me know.
Yeah, y'all let me know if y'all hear anything.
I ran into them. I got pictures of them when I was at the Waste Management, ironically enough.
Yeah.
I would love to get those. Dude, they're fucking hilarious. I think, dude, honestly, you guys would do a great collab. I think it'd be fucking hilarious.
There's 3 of them, and like, you know, in golf, like you normally have like a foursome. So I don't know. I'm not saying anything, but
what is your? Do you have a creator role model? Someone who's helped you out, or like you've looked up to since you've taken off.
Yeah, Aaron for sure. From St. Andre. Yeah, just like he, not only like just from what he's like done for my career and like stuff like that, but just like he is involved in so many different projects, and just like the way that his like brain works, that like when I pitch him like sketch ideas, I get so nervous, because it's like, you know, when I pitch like, or when I tell these ideas to like, you know, my wife or my friends or whatever, it's just kind of like, they're like, oh, like that's great, that's funny, but like it's different when you're like pitching them to somebody that like, oh, he does this on like the highest level. And so like sometimes like when I'm pitching him an idea, I'm just like, is this the stupidest thing ever? Or like I pitched him an idea one time, and then he was like, oh yeah, it could be funny if you did this too. And I was like, oh, that is infinitely more funny than my idea. So yeah, probably him for sure.
What's all right, last one. Favorite piece of content you've ever made, and why?
That's tough. I feel like the rap, it's a twofold question. So I was able to gift my dad a set of golf clubs a few months back, and I did like a partnership giveaway with this store up here in New Jersey called Badlands. That one was really special to me, because like my dad is who got me into golf, and he bought me my first set of clubs ever. And so the fact that like I was able to gift him a set of clubs was really dope. Like kind of felt like a full circle moment of like, you know, sure, I'm able to like return the favor. But I think also the rap, just because of like how it's changed my life. I mean, people that I was watching 4 months ago, like Lot and Roger and all these people, like the fact that I'm like, you know, consider myself like friends to these guys now is wild to me. Even Aaron and the St. Andre crew and like Joe, like I always thought Bev Boys would like work out eventually, but I thought it was going to be a much more gradual over time thing. And so, just really like grateful and super thankful every day to like be in this space. I never, you know, take for granted how awesome it is to be here, take it lightly. And, yeah, hopefully I can kind of just keep the momentum going and keep it afloat. And yeah, just happy to be here.
Oh, yeah, dude. Well, guys, that's Nick from Bev Boys. Nick, thank you for joining us, man. This was really awesome conversation. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of your work, man. Keep up the grind. Keep up the ground in the pod as well. I love what you guys are doing over there. Before we sign off, man, any last-minute messages, feel free to plug whatever you want. I've got a couple sponsors, but nothing crazy. And then I'll let you go, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Final sign-off would probably just be like, first of all, if there's anybody that has made it this far in the video, shout out to you.
Yeah, for real, you're
an hour plus for no GOG. But I would say, yeah, if anybody's watching this and like wants to get into content creation or has been kind of on the fence about becoming a creator, you have to take the step and do it. I always say that like whatever's holding you back isn't as bad as like the regret that you'll have years later if you look back and be like, man, I had a dream. I feel like I could have done something special and I just didn't do it. That's where I was for years. And the moment that I stopped caring about like what people thought or what people would think of me is, I look at where I'm at now and I'm like, I can't imagine if I wouldn't have done it. So
yeah,
signing off words, man, to anybody, if you're listening to this and you want to make content, just do it. 'Cause you never know what could be on the other side.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. We'll link all Nick's stuff in the description. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.